Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Senator Tim Kaine got into a heated spat during a Senate hearing yesterday.
The hearing was centered around President Trump's foreign funding request for 2026. What other topics were discussed?
Rubio and Kaine clashed over the Trump administration allowing South African refugees into the country. Let's listen.
Can you have a different standard based upon the color of somebody's skin? Would that be acceptable?
Well, I'm not the one arguing that. Apparently you are, because you don't like the fact that they're white, and that's why they're coming.
I'm just asking you to say that would be unacceptable.
Well, no,
that
I would say that the United States,
a very easy thing to say.
The United States has a right to pick and choose who they allow into the United States.
Even based on the color of somebody's skin.
You're the one that's talking about the color of their skin, not me. These
You're
are people
refusing
whose farms
to
were being
acknowledge
burned
that
down
it
and they were
should be
killed because of the
even-handed.
color of their skin.
You can't say to the American public that we should apply this statute in an even-handed way.
No, I think it should be applied in a way. No,
you
you shouldn't be shocked. It should be applied in the national interest of the United States. Our immigration policy should be based on the national interest of the United States. Period. End of story.
Filmmaker Mike Cernovich wrote on X, Rubio's level up is the sleeper story of the Trump administration.
Meanwhile, editor of the Left Hook Substack, Wajat Ali, wrote on Blue Sky, quote, maybe Democrats shouldn't have given Marco Rubio all the votes to be Secretary of State. Just a thought.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't have mattered one way or the other. He would have been the Secretary of State. And I think this really, I got to say, shows the difference between the Democratic and the Republican approach to immigration here. Tim Kaine seems to be taking the position that, you know, anyone who is dispossessed or needy or downtrodden can come to America, and Rubio is saying, no, the Republican standpoint is we will pick and choose the people we want. We
based
do not,
on
there's
what?
no entitlement
Based on
whatever criteria we formulate.
So let me tell you the criteria. The claim that farmers in South Africa are being killed is wholly misinformation, as usual, coming from the Republican Party these days. South African officials dispute the claims. South African police don't support the claims. And in March 2024, 225 people were killed on farms in South Africa, and guess what? Half of them were the black workers on the fields as opposed to the owners of the farmland that they're referring to. So that's like a 50-50 split. So it's not open to South Africans, it's open to Afrikaners, which are mostly white people in South Africa, which is crazy to just pick and choose who can come, especially on the back.
Crazy to pick and choose.
Yeah, because especially on the back of Venezuela, who are also fleeing dire situations, and just telling them that they lost temporary protected status by the Supreme Court is definitely picking and choosing, saying why these.
It is picking and choosing.
These Venezuelans can't come, but these South African people can come, when the horrors in Venezuela are much worse, according to people who actually live there and experts, than the horrors that are happening in South Africa. So why? If there's no reason besides skin color that Tim Kaine can see, what's the reason that you're picking South Africa over Venezuela?
Well, there's lots of reasons I could point to these refugees as being perfectly acceptable to come in that have nothing to do with skin color. They're affluent and low likely to participate in crime, and so they.
So are the Venezuelan
and they're welcome
migrants.
Okay, but I'm probably fine with the Venezuelans coming in too. Venezuelans who are fleeing the communist dictatorship of their country, yeah, I'm fine with them coming in. But the point is, picking and choosing is the prerogative of the U.S. government when it comes to the refugee program. We do get to decide we want these people, we don't want these people, we want this person, we don't want this person.
But shouldn't Congress break down why they're choosing? Like, shouldn't we have an understanding about why Marco Rubio is selecting certain countries? And Tim Kaine can't find the reason why you're picking South Africa when this is a minor thing compared to the genocide happening around the world.
But Tim Kaine used the word entitlement. He said, right, people, what about the Uyghurs? What about I am super sympathetic to the Uyghurs. I think the mistreatment of the Uyghurs by the Chinese authoritarian state is absolutely awful. And if there's some way we can, facilitate better conditions for them, I'm all for it. But we get to pick and choose and decide how many people we can have coming from the rest of the world to this country under this program. There is no absolute right to come here. That is not the legal right. Legal rights are for U.S. citizens, for people already in the country. I think I am fine. I agree with taking a large number of refugees who are going to work here, who are fleeing communism, who share our values, who love America, who are going to work and build things and contribute. I am all for that. I want to bring in all the computer engineers.
Right? Rich, and we need people who are
right.
going
We
to
need people who are going to build things. We need right. Yes,
collar,
I agree with you. Yes,
yes,
we need it all. And as long as you're not involved in criminal activity, gang activity, terrorism, we got to vet you all for that. Then I'm fine with it. But that stuff has to take place. It's not just, and I actually don't care if they're suffering or not. It's not. It should not be viewed as a humanitarian effort. It should be viewed as what makes America stronger. That
Well,
is
I
the
mean-
Republican view.
Well, let's say we're talking about temporary protected statuses. That's like in the case of emergency, and there's no dire emergency in South Africa, is what I'm trying to explain. So the fact that Marco Rubio
who
is
cares
just
if they
taking this
come here?
opportunity to say, yes, let's open the floodgates.
It's like
not a problem.
It's not the
for
floodgates
me.
to a couple dozen people.
Yeah, it's not a problem for me, but it's a problem that at the same
Okay, it's not a
time
problem
they're
for you.
trying
Then
to
why are we
ban.
talking about it?
No, they're trying to ban Venezuelans from coming. So that's the same time.
well-
It's just like, well, these are people are more brown, and these people are majority white, and you're saying, well, I get to choose, and I don't have to explain why. That's ridiculous. When you answer to the American public, again, people are not ordained into these positions. We don't have a dictatorship. We should really discuss ideas and explain why we're doing things so that people can feel like people are treated fairly. There's been a history in the country of not treating people who are different complexions of skin fairly, as we all understand. And so that's why people are arguing this.
The government is required to treat people in the country in a racially non-discriminatory manner. I agree.
But not.
But they're not. Well, no, they're not required to treat anyone else in the world for any reason. They're just not. We are required to pick and
says
choose.
that people leading our government.
Well, you can say
should have
basic
that.
morality, but I'm saying there's no legal requirement. We get to decide who's coming in, and it can be for whatever reasons we determine. Is
That's
that
a slippery
not
slope.
true?
No,
That is true.
It's actually true, but doesn't make it right. It's true, but
Okay,
I don't
you
like
can say
to
it's
see.
not. You can say it's not morally right, but I am arguing. And again, if it's up to me, the Venezuelans, by and large, I'm sure I'm fine having in. I would not change for the Afghans who helped us. I would not change that policy either. It's not. This isn't about me. I am in favor, frankly, of letting more people in, certainly than the average American or the average conservative is. But we live in a world where we live in a country where a large majority of the voters, even many Democrats and independents, said there's too much immigration in this country. We want to slow down the flow. And so we have to pick and choose, or else the support for having immigration at all just goes way out of whack, and we're going to end up with everything costing more because we can't get anybody to build anything because we don't have enough of a labor supply. To keep this pipe flowing at all, we have to be, if it has to be politically popular, we have to do some vetting, right? I mean, that's
Right,
that's just the cold political reality.
People just want the information behind it. I know the South African president is here meeting with Trump today and speaking with him. So hopefully we'll get some transparency in that. This all feels like, there's just a disconnect between what's actually happening in South Africa to what we're reporting is happening as a crisis when there are actual crises
It's only
around
like
the
40
world.
people.
I know.
If
but
it was 40 Venezuelans or 40 Afghans or 40 Somali, it wouldn't. It was
It's
fine,
not
I
about the
don't
number.
care.
It's just about
Well, it
picking
kind
and
of is
choosing
about the
and
number.
putting people who look one way over other people when they're not in the same kind of crisis. People in Venezuela, because I've sat down with migrants from Venezuela, are really leaving dire situations, extreme poor conditions. They don't have any other choice. To think about the journey.
These
to
are
come-
wealthy
We're not
people?
talking about wealthy people from
But I
South
want
Africa
wealthy
that can
people
fly
to come to
here,
the United
and we're
States.
talking about people who risk their lives crossing waters, bodies of waters, and to do all that, think about the treacherous conditions that you face to get here as a migrant that did come here illegally. Then they're doing that because they had a dire situation they were escaping from, and we are closing the door on their face and making it harder for them instead of making a way for proper immigration easier for them. We're making it harder, but opening the door to this quote-unquote crisis in South Africa that's not even a real crisis.
I'm all for making proper immigration easier. Sounds good to me. But I want wealthy people to move to America. I think that is generally a good policy.
Well, they
for
got a
the
$5
country.
million offer from Trump standing, so they can move that way also for $5 million. Talking about $5 million, you might have spent it on Klarna. Are you a pay later plan, a plan for recession food indicator? We're going to talk about this after the break.